Hey, what's up? In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about switching off, particularly around work. So I feel like more than ever, it's harder for people to switch off from work, whether that's after a day of work or even in the weekends. And I think part of the reason is as a lot more digital work becomes present, I feel like we lose these jobs that are more hand-based or like using your hands, or kind of less communication based in terms of like human interaction. Like even if you look at a supermarket, a lot of the cashiers have been replaced by self-checkout. So that's kind of like an idea of the digital takeover and the whole automation, AI, robots, that whole thing is here, it's still coming. And I mean, you've got Optimus, I think from Tesla, they're working on. You've got AI in the works, a lot of interesting things. It does bring up the topic of universal income, but that's a whole different topic. I think all this digital work makes it harder. It's like even with remote work, right? I think that's an incredible thing, but it's kind of like in some ways it's invading our personal space, right? Like you're in your home and you're working, like your home now becomes your office. So that's how much it seeps into people's lives, which makes it even harder to check out, because if you go to an office, or if you go to a store, then you can kind of have a switch in your brain. I think it's easier to have a switch in your brain that, okay, I'm at the office, I'm at the store, I'm working. And then when you leave the office, when you leave the store, I've stopped working. It kind of does help with that switch. Whereas when you're at home, it's kind of like, all right, I'm working. Oh, I'm still at the office. I mean, I'm sure there's some kind of psychological thing that it does. And even with digital problems, maybe this is a generic thing, not just like a digital thing, but like any kind of problem that requires you to really think through the problem and come up with a solution. It's not just something that you can kind of pick up and put down physically. It's something that your mind is working on. And so just because it's 5 o'clock doesn't necessarily mean your brain stops thinking about it, right? And if you're stuck on a problem that you need to solve, then you kind of got to figure it out. And sometimes you might be able to solve things subconsciously. Like sometimes you might be working on a problem, get stuck, move away from the desk, do some other things, and then it might hit you when you're away from the desk, or maybe when you come back, you're a little bit more refreshed and you can come solve it. But all of that time is like it's sitting somewhere in your head. And I think it makes it harder for people to kind of clock out, makes it harder for people to switch off. And, sometimes I think it's good for people to switch off. If you go on holiday, you want to really be on holiday. And I know some people are very good at this and they kind of set the boundaries, like they delete all their communication apps or they just kind of mute them. And not that you necessarily need to delete your communication apps and, use your own judgment, especially if you're on call for any emergencies, etc. But, to be able to cut those communications when it's your time off, I think is healthy. And I think we need to practice it more. I certainly need to practice it more. I think I've gotten a little bit better at it, but there's still room for improvement. And even with some of the people that I work with, I can see some people are working in the weekends and that's a whole different thing. But yeah, I think people just need to be able to switch off. I think people need to give their brain some fresh air, give their brain like some space to think about other things, to absorb other things. Oftentimes, even with me, when I'm like really stressed about something at work, it completely bleeds into my personal life. Maybe I won't feel as motivated or up for going to the gym, and then I'll skip a gym session. Or just generally, like maybe it affects my life, and maybe I'll work a few like 30 minutes, an extra hour, just courtesy to try and solve the problem, bleeds into my personal life. And so more so than ever, I think it's important that we learn how to switch off, that we practice switching off. And hopefully, if everyone has that kind of grace, it really is kind of a culture as well, because if everyone at work is not switching off, then you switching off might make the difference between you falling really behind versus kind of keeping up with everyone or just falling slightly behind, or even getting ahead. But yeah, I think as a culture, you kind of need that embedded, because otherwise people aren't going to feel like they can take a breath or a step back. And I think life is bigger than work. We should be able to switch off, step back, and enjoy the time off, right? Like sometimes it might be Sunday and I'll be stressed about work on Monday. And it's like, it's not even Monday, but I'm stressing about Monday. And that's something that I gotten better at again, but it's something I still need to work on consistently. I don't know really how to stop it. And sometimes like Monday will come, like we're always worried about Monday, and then Monday will come and it's like, oh, Monday wasn't that bad as I thought it would be. Anyways, practice switching off when you have the time off. I think it's good for your brain. I think it's good for your health. Creates room to learn new things. Thanks for watching. See you next time.